want to talk about the hit Netflix movie, It Ends With Us, starring Blake Lively. I am Danielle. I'm a life coach here at Sunflower Counseling Center, and we are joined by Kayla Lewis. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, again, my name is, well, not again, but my name is Kayla Lewis, and I am an intake specialist here at Sunflower Counseling Center. So, hello, everyone.
Thank you, Kayla. And also, Kayla just graduated from nursing school. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, so I feel like this is a movie that has so much to dissect, to unpack. I feel like we could talk about this for hours, but we're going to try to keep it short, straight, simple, to the point. But again, I think it's going to be a little difficult for us because it's a lot here. Spoiler warning, alert, alert, alert. Please know, we know this is a Fairly Moon movie. If you have not seen it, we're going to be diving into it. We're talking about all the things. So if you don't want to hear all the things, log off now and come back. Make sure you come back though. Come back after you watch the movie and discuss it with us. So make sure you are in the comments. You can email us. We'll give you all the information at the end. But let's just dive right into it. So, Kayla.
Yes.
You know what? I'm gonna let you go ahead and open it up. Is there anything before because my mind is going. Is there anything you want to talk about first?
It's so much. Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, it was an amazing movie. Um, from start to finish. I mean, I couldn't take my eyes off the movie. It was one of those, and it's so funny because when I saw it come out in theaters, I was like, oh. But then when you told me, hey, this is a great movie, I'm like, okay, let's see. And then I went on Netflix and I'm like, oh, this really is great.
Yeah.
I was very, the movie itself was very touching. It had its funny moments. It was really that all-in-one movie that, and it also, hit back to home, to where we can take concepts back to here at Sunflower
Yeah.
Council. So that's what I really love.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So, with that being said, actually, I do want to mention neither one of us are mental health counselors, right? So, don't take anything that we say as this is a mental health advice. It's not therapy. We're just out here talking about it, and we work at Sunflower Counseling Center. If you do, at any point, you or family or friend feel like you do need some mental health counseling or you would like to get a little bit more information, feel free to reach out to us. And again, that information will be at the end of the video. So when the movie first starts, the first thing that kind of jumps out at you is the subject of grief because her dad passes away. So as soon as he come in, we're coming into the movie in a funeral. And again, grief.
It
It's
was
like one of the hardest, I think, toughest emotions and feelings because for me at least, I know I have control issues. So it's not something you can even control. Like your emotions you can't control anyway, but grief is just it's a tough one.
It really was. It was, yeah. That jumping straight into grief was just like, man, but then also how she reacted to it. I'm like, well, why? Why can't she find some things to say about her father? I'm just like being left on a cliffhanger, and I'm like, well, what, why didn't they show me now? But
Yeah, they were
um,
real clever in that,
mhm,
making you wait to hear exactly why she couldn't say
right,
five great things about her dad.
right,
So then we get more into the movie, right?
right.
So then we learn a little bit about her. First of all, her name is dope. I think it's so cute.
Lily
Blossom,
Blossom Bloom.
Lily Blossom Bloom.
Lily Blossom Bloom. It's so funny, it's so cliche, but it's so cute.
It's so cliche. It's so cliche, but it is cute. And even more cliche that she opens her flower shop, Lily Blossom
Right.
Bloom Flower Shop.
Lilies blossoms, or is it lilies?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we get a little bit of introduction to Lily and we learn about her because she meets her man friend. Do
Right.
you remember his name? Ryle. Her
Ryle.
man named Ryle.
Ryle.
Um, and what got me hooked after, the funeral thing is how witty and funny and uncomplicated their initial conversation was.
It was very natural. And it's so funny because she was just sitting on the edge of a building and he came and he was very angry. Kit came in, busting through the door, throwing a chair. Or did he kick a chair? I think he kicked it, but it flew. And she's looking back like, okay, well, I'm just act like I don't see anything.
We don't see this whole woman sitting on the edge of a building.
Mm-mm, no. So that was, and once they actually had their conversation and they were able to talk, and it was such a naturally flowing conversation, and you could tell that like their emotional tensions were rising. But then once he stated, oh, I'm a neurosurgeon, and she's like, yeah, right. Okay.
Who just goes around meeting neurosurgeons that are super handsome and can carry a conversation and is funny and tried to get me off of a ledge because he thought I was suicidal, like all
Right.
that in one night.
It was so interesting. Funny as well. But also even more funnier that he pretty much was like, "Oh, I'm a one night stand kind of guy." And she's just like, "Yeah, no, not me." But and I love that she created that boundary right there.
Yeah,
That was my
right?
favorite part is that she immediately created that boundary and she kept it for a long time. Like, it was I feel like that was my most favorite part was that boundary right there. Like, if this isn't going further, I don't want to engage in it.
I agree with you 100%. And I do want to mention we're not shaming. We're not shaming. We're not S shaming, right? However, I think that was amazing for her that she said, I'm not that chick. I don't do the one night stands. I don't. What we're going to do, she said, I'm a take home to mama type of girl. So
Right.
if that's what you're into, you can keep moving because that's not what I do. And
Right.
she did keep
Hmm.
that whole stance and mindset throughout the
And I'm
dating.
thinking she wasn't gonna do it. I'm like, this guy is too smooth with his words. No, nah,
Right. I mean,
nah.
you gotta imagine, like sometimes you say neurosurgeon, we like, wait a minute.
Hmm.
But she did keep her strength throughout that. And so throughout the movie, and this what I okay, I'm trying not to get ahead of myself.
Right, right.
So we learn a lot about Lily and her relationship, and then she meets her best friend through opening up her shop because she's an entrepreneur. Come to find out, her new best friend slash
Uh-huh.
employee is the
His
sister,
Ryle sister.
is
And I'm
Ryan's
just like,
sister.
wow. I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
That was insane because initially when he came up angry, he was upset about his sister. And I'm
Mm.
like, dang, what did his sister do? Whole time she's cool.
Why he was upset about his sister?
Yes, when he was at the rooftop, he mentioned it was I forgot exactly what it stated, but he mentioned how he was upset about what something his sister had said. And how his sister has a fiance. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, maybe we'll meet them later on in
That
the movie.
I thought he was upset about a surgery and then talked about living with his sister.
Yes, 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 yes. But it was something that his sister said that kind of irritated him a little bit. But he
Ah,
was definitely upset about the surgery. The surgery he was upset about was because it was a 6-year-old boy who I believe he was playing with a gun. Remember that. We're gonna come back.
yeah. And that's a key moment too, right? That we
Mhm.
learned that he was upset about the surgery because his patient, which is the 6-year-old, didn't make it. And he told her they were playing with a gun and one sibling shot the other. We'll circle back to that, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so the sister and the brother are both intertwined with Lily in some sort of way. And the relationship, it grows, they're dating, and eventually they do start to become intimate. And it's just a great, I think it was intentional that you kind of fall in love with Ryle, as well as Lily fall in love, us as the audience fall in love with
Because
Ryle.
I'm sitting over here like, why am I falling in love with this guy too? And Lily. And I was like, no, this is just too good.
It's like so romantic and
Yeah,
amazing. And I want to come back to that as well when it comes to the marketing because that's a thing. But it was very, to me, it seems so romantic and nice. And then I think the author did, or the director author. So there's a book to this too. Wait, I haven't read the book. So I'm going to say the story.
I'm gonna go ahead and buy that.
Yeah, you
I'm
got
gonna
to buy
buy
the
that
book.
today.
Because the book, to me, books are always better than the movies.
They are
Always.
always better, and I don't understand why. I don't understand it. Maybe it's because the mind, can envision so much more than a movie can. I don't know, but I'm gonna get the book.
I agree with you 100%. I think the mind can create its own world, and you have these own visions that you come up with. And also, you can get so much more detail into a book than a movie because a movie is what, hour, 2 hours? You got to
Yeah.
cram it all in. Um, but with this story, I mean, it's so romantic and all of this stuff, so that you can learn how easily you can fall in love with someone and just feel like they're this amazing person, and then something happens that you never expected, right? And we're going to get into the domestic violence part of this because eventually that
Yeah.
enters the story, and you wouldn't expect it because
Yeah.
this relationship has been so beautiful to this point.
And yeah, you can go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, it was so for me, and I can see how individuals, sometimes I can see how this is one of those pathways into domestic violence because I didn't see it at first. I thought it was an accident. And I was like, oh, it's an accident. No worries, it's an accident. But when we'll just go down to the replays in her mind. But but the first time, I believe they were just having like a intimate moment, very sweet in the kitchen. And I think he had some type of souffle or something in the oven and it started burning. They already knew it was burning before, but he's just like, no, let me get kisses in and everything. So he goes to open the oven and goes to get the pan out with his hand, bare hand as a surgeon. Come on now. Uh,
Right.
and I guess as like the pain of picking up the pan or touching the pan, he threw it back and it hit her in the eye, I think, or is it the head of the eye? Which one
In
was
her
it?
eye, yeah.
In her eye. So it did bruise her eye. But how I saw it, I truly saw it as an accident because she was really concerned. I didn't see him get mad at her. And that's why I'm like, man.
And that's why I think this story and the storytelling is so brilliant
Mhm.
because it's not your typical domestic violence movie or story where the
Right.
man just comes straight in and you can see him hitting and abusing. So, like you were saying, this original act of violence was easily could have been seen as a mistake because I saw it as a mistake too. Like, oh,
Okay.
dang, he was, that it was hot. He put his hand back and hit her in the eye. It wasn't intentional. It happened. She initially was like, you good? Like, what's happening? And then, she kind of calmed down and realized, this
Yeah.
was a mistake. He didn't do this on purpose.
Right.
So we all as an audience, like, ish happens. Let's move through it. Let's move
Right.
past it.
I'm
And
telling
then the next incident was they got into a little tiff, a little argument
wait,
about,
before we go into that,
okay,
we have to talk about the childhood friend.
that's where I was about to go. Yes,
Okay.
I was just about to get in that. So to get into the next tip about a childhood friend, um, who I think is amazing, just a little cutie pie, has his own issues throughout the story. And like I said, we can go like because he's unhoused, another word for homeless. So we could go deep into that, but that's another taping for another time. But he has a friend that's unhoused, and I'm sorry. It's going. Another thing I love about the story, I love movies that go from past to present, past to present. So throughout the movie, we go back to their child or Lily's childhood with this childhood friend who was like her first boyfriend, her first person that she's intimate with.
Right.
and they just love each other, young love, all that wonderful stuff. And then she meets him again in adulthood.
Yes, which I don't know. I started making him the villain, and I'm like, no, he's just here. Like he's just here to like take her away from her marriage. And but I just didn't understand why they kept flashing back. So during the flashback, um, that's when we found out that the reason why Lily had nothing to say for her father is because her father was putting his hands on her mother multiple times, and she's seen it multiple times. And also the friend had dealt with issues in his own family where his mother was in an abusive relationship. So that is where that connection piece stemmed from. And unfortunately, there was one day where the friend was in Lily's room. Her dad came in. He nearly beat him to death. And then he was never seen again until now, until further in the future. And that's when they go to this restaurant. Uh, and Lily didn't know that it was his restaurant. I mean, it was a nice restaurant, really nice. And then once they like locked eyes, I'm like, wait a second, this is the friend. This is the friend. And so that was I liked how they intertwined that piece in there. Yeah, I really liked how they did that.
I do too. Like a lot of this stuff could be like cheesy. Could like if we were
Mhm.
like the brother, the sister, oh, the friend owns the restaurant they just happen to go to, but it doesn't matter. We loved it. So what happened was, um, the friend noticed that Lily has this bruised eye from the souffle. I don't know what it was, the souffle incident, the oven incident, and also sees the bandage on Ryle's hand and assumes that Ryle intentionally is hurting Lily. Goes off, okay? Just eventually
Immediately in the restaurant. I mean,
they
didn't even ask any questions.
they get into Ryle and Friend get into we gotta learn his name, but Ryle and Friend get into a little
Starts with an
tough.
A. Starts.
RL arts. They get into a little tough, and then Ryle, after is kicked out the restaurant. Of course, I'm gonna kick you out my restaurant. You're fighting me, and they go outside, and it's like, listen, Lily, I'm in love with you. I'm only in love with you. Tell me if this is what you want. She's like, yeah, I love you. This is what I want. And the friend, the next day or next few days, comes by just to see if Lily's okay, apologize, and it's like, listen, if he is hurting you, here's my number in case you ever should need it. And he puts it in between her phone case, her phone and her phone case.
Atlas.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Atlas. His name was Atlas.
Agnes.
Atlas. Atlas. Like
Atlas, Atlas.
yes,
That's
Atlas.
good, good one. Yep, yep, that's it. Atlas. We're gonna call him Atlas, not friend, from now on.
So yes, that was even though once he put it in there, I was like, oh, why did he put it in there? That's the worst place because anything could happen. And I know it was probably like, I know it was very much, it was an innocent thing. And somehow, some way, I knew this was going to come up later on in the movie. But I'm like, oh, everything's so
You
happy for
know it is. You know it is. Like homegirl 101. Don't keep that
you.
evidence just out here laying around like this. Even if we know it's innocent, you know it's innocent. The problem I have with Lily, it reminds me, Lily isn't always honest with Ryle, right? I
Yes,
feel like if she's honest about things in the beginning, even if it's a little white lie, and I feel like we all do it, right? Like it's a little
right.
white lie. Like if I tell him what this tattoo is really about, it's gonna be a thing.
Yeah,
So listen, it's nothing. Don't worry about it. Let's move on with our lives. It's in the past. However, that past comes back, and he's like, I
right.
directly asked you about this. You know what I'm saying? So it
That I
causes.
did wish she was honest, because it caused more problems and it caused more confusion on Ryle's end because it makes you a little angry. Even when he asked about the heart tattoo on her
Oh,
clavicle, and she's just like, oh, it's nothing. She should have easily just said, well, listen, when I was younger, there's this guy, um, and we were friends, and yes, it did turn into something. I did get this tattoo because of that, but there is no more. I don't understand why she did it, but it was just maybe it was something to direct the attention elsewhere.
Yeah, I feel like that's what it was. And I feel like everyone's kind of guilty of it. Just listen, it was from the past. It's no big deal. Let's keep it moving. Um, but again, like we said, so that piece of paper that was in her phone that she didn't immediately get rid of, anyway, is in her phone. And Ryle eventually has her phone to put it on the charger. He drops it, sees the paper, and he's upset. Naturally, he's upset. Hey, what is this? Why didn't you tell me about it? I thought we were over this. And he
Well,
goes to leave.
mhm.
He goes to
Well,
remove
before he did
himself from
that,
the
I think
situation.
he threw some things down the room.
Yeah, he was upset. He even tried to call Atlas, um, throw things around the room. So he's upset. He tries to remove himself from the situation. He does to be, completely. He tries to remove
Yeah,
himself. Lily chases after him, which is also natural. Listen, I don't want you to be upset. Let me explain what happened. She's going after him. He's leaving. They're in front of some steps. And she tries to get in front of him. And he's just like, move away from me. Move away from me. So you can see my hands.
right.
Move away from me. And then she falls,
Hmm.
right?
Down the steps,
She falls down the steps. She blacks out. She comes to, and he's stitching her
stitching
up
up.
or fixing
Hmm.
her up. So this is the second case of violence in a relationship. But again, it doesn't look like an intentional,
Right.
I'm coming in the door, I'm upset, I'm
Yeah.
hitting you in the face, as like her dad was doing, right?
Right. It did not, for me, it did not seem, I'm just like, oh, dang, this is not going to go good. She's chasing him. He's trying to, remove himself from the situation. And y'all are going down flights of steps. At that point, just let him go because I don't know. Oh man, that was just horrible. I was just like, dang, what another accident. Because I look,
And that's the thing. And we're not laughing at the situation, but we're laughing at the
right,
fact that we're both on the same page. Like
right,
it was another unfortunate event.
right.
Or was it an intentional attempt to hurt because you're upset at her, with her? So
Hmm.
that's why I thought this was such a brilliant because domestic violence is not always black and white. It's not always, girl, why didn't you leave him the first time it happened? Or you saw the signs when it's not always straight. I'm coming in the house, I'm upset, pop you upside the head or whatever the case may be. It could show in different ways.
Right. And so with that, she goes to the shop. She tells Ryle's sister what happened. And so I think she's just like, oh, yeah, I don't think anything happened that time. No, I don't think anything happened that time, but
It was
she saw it. Everybody, I believe everybody saw the star.
Yeah, so everybody saw so the first time everybody saw it and they were just like, yeah, we just got hurt. It was, it was a beautiful chaotic mess. I think that's the words they use. And
Yeah.
then the second time, she still kind of, stuck with it. And then a third time is when he asked her, she got in the magazine for one of the best flower shops, but Atlas also was in the magazine for the best restaurant. And Atlas did an interview and he said something about the heart and how the woman that he, still in love with has the heart. So Ryla's like, bruh, what he talking about? Is it that heart? And she's like, so listen, because she didn't tell the truth in the beginning. That little white lie is now staring her in the face. Um,
But also
and
she didn't know that Atlas was gonna speak on that. Like that was so I can only imagine being in a magazine, rated for like being a great business. And here's my ex-boyfriend, top number one, talking about how great of a girlfriend, my
yeah,
ex-girlfriend.
and they
That right there,
and now your husband, yeah, they got married. So now your husband is like, hey, we talked about this multiple times,
right.
and now it's popping up again.
Hmm.
I need you to tell me exactly what's happening. And then he said, Are you in love with him? Ryle said, Absolutely. Are you in love with Atlas? She
That made
said,
me so
I'm
upset
in
when
love
she
with you. He was like, That's not what I asked. And she kind of admitted that, I don't remember if she said, I don't know.
said, I
Yes,
don't know.
she doesn't know. She's in love
And
with
that made
Atlas.
me upset. And I'm like, why would you say that? But I
Right.
mean, that was her truth, I guess.
Yeah,
But
I don't know. It's her truth. But
yeah,
of course, you say that to your husband that you don't know if you're in love with another man. Again, he's upset. This time, the abuse was a little more understandable, a little more direct, a little more because now it's assault
mhm,
in a sexual manner, right?
yeah,
It could have gotten to that point. It didn't, but it was very, very close. And that takes us to another issue of how there can be assault within a marriage when it comes to a sexual manner. So again, that's a whole nother video. It is a thing. Um, but at this point, Lily realizes this is not mistake number three.
yeah,
This is a thing.
the real
And
thing.
I think a lot of women don't, even after this part, right? They still don't realize it or they still don't recognize it. But I think the blessing that Lily had, I don't even, blessing is not the right word. It could be a blessing. She knew from previous experience with her mom what domestic violence looks like because it was becoming a generational thing. It was her mom, now it's her. So she's seen it. She knows what this trauma, these triggers look like. So now she can recognize it like, this
Right,
is not it. This is wrong. We got to do something about it.
right. And I'm glad she did say something. And I'm glad that those experiences flashed through her head at the time. That
Yeah,
she was experiencing the sexual assault because that's basically what it was. She kept saying no. He kept pushing forward. The bite marks on her, it was
yeah,
just, I was like, wow, like, I just wonder why he went. So I wonder why he went so far, but maybe I'll read the book. Um,
right. Read a book,
but
right?
no, she winds up going to tell Ryo's sister. And Ryo's sister was just like, as your best friend, if you're going to continue to stay with him, we will no longer be best friends. I forgot what the other part was.
That was like a big moment in the movie for me because
Yeah.
she said, as his sister,
Mhm.
I would love for you, not these not words exactly, but as your sister, I would love for you to give him another chance because this is not the person I've grown up seeing. I've never seen him do anything like this. But as your friend, if you forgive him, I will never speak to you again.
Right. And I was like, oh, that is so, and it's so funny because I've been in a situation like that. Um, some people don't, take that well, but she took it well. Oh, this is where she also talked about Emerson. Emerson was their brother who passed away at 6 years old due to the similar experience of where Ryo was playing with a gun. The gun went off and it killed his brother Emerson. He never talked about having an older brother, but and it was kind of crazy because his sister was like, "Well, he never told you about him."
Right, right.
And Ryo never said anything. So
They
it
never
brings it
told me.
back to why that experience where in the beginning where he was so upset about the 6 year old shooting because
Mhm.
it was probably a trauma that he hadn't healed from just yet.
Right,
He hasn't healed from
exactly.
or it took it on just yet.
So after Lily got into it the third time, not got into it, but was hurt the third time, she went to the hospital, and that's where she learned she's pregnant. So now she's made the decision that she's leaving Ryle, but she's having his baby. So that brings a whole nother dynamic to the situation because now you have to co-parent. Um, but also she runs to Atlas.
Hmm. She runs to his
Atlas is
restaurant.
sitting,
Yep.
he's sitting with her in the hospital. and they're going through this together. He's like, I'm here for you. If you ever decide you want to fall in love again, I'm here. Now she's fresh off all of this. Atlas like, listen, I'm here for you if you need me.
I'm
He's
here.
ready. Right. Um,
Don't forget
but
me.
she eventually has the baby and
Mhm.
she sticks with it. And you can imagine how hard it is because Ryle isn't, he's still showing those signs of the person she met in the beginning, the witty, handsome, neurosurgeon, smart. But he's also the man who hurts her. So now she has to think about her and her baby. So once she has a baby, Ryle is there. He's, there holding her hand. He's with her the whole time. And she's like, listen, I want a divorce.
Wait, so before we get to that, I wanted to bring up a part that could really it was the part where, Lily was probably about 8 or 9 months pregnant. She was putting up the crib. And this is where Ryo comes and he's helping with the crib because she really couldn't. Or she was just having some trouble and he really wanted to he didn't ask, but Lily was just like, hey, you want to feel the baby? And he feels the baby and he hears the baby. Like it was just so sweet. And he's just like, come home, please. And I could see at that moment to where some women would be like, you know what, I'm gonna give this a try. Let me give this a shot.
That's the
Because
moment.
yeah,
That's the moment.
and I'm just being completely honest with you, like, especially being in a vulnerable moment like that, oh, he's showing, being reliable, being this family man. I might want to go home.
Yeah,
We might can
very
work
good
on these
point.
issues. Yeah. And so I was just like, man, she stuck to her guns.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think in that moment, any of us would have not have been like, well, maybe some of us, right? Especially
Right.
people that are been in this situation or friends that are very close to people, women who have been, or
Right.
people, period, not just women, people who have been in this position. They're like, girl, give him another chance. He didn't mean it.
Because
But
I
she
would
was,
have.
no, we're getting divorced. She eventually told him she wanted divorced.
Right.
Um, and she was very good, and that's why the story is called It Ends With Us, because she wasn't letting this happen a third time within her family generation, for it to become a tradition, right? No, we're
Right.
ending. No more domestic violence. And all I have to say, all we're saying is if you get a chance to watch it, because there's so many areas of this movie that we don't have enough time to delve into. But if you have a chance, watch it. I want to talk a little bit. I don't think we move on without talking a little bit about the drama surrounding the marketing of this movie, because I don't know if it was Blake Lively's decision herself or her team or production. But the way she was marketing the movie as a romance movie, go see the movie with your homegirls, dress in your floral dresses, and go watch the movie. It's very romantic, which I think personally, I think was good because the movie is romantic. It is, it is. For the first part of the movie, it is like the sweetest. You're like, oh my God. But she definitely should have mentioned. However, there are some dark moments that speak on and touch on, or not even touch on, are direct domestic violence issues and situations. So please go knowing this and ready to see this and ready to talk about it. So it looks like Kayla's frozen. So Blake received a lot of kind of hate and all kinds of backlash from it. So hopefully this was a learning moment, a teachable moment. It was a great romantic movie in the beginning, but it turned very quickly. So again, if you have time to ever, you know, kind of check this movie out, definitely do it. If it's something that you're experiencing, please, please, please look at the information that comes up on the next screen on how you can get help. The Sunflower Counseling Center is here in Georgia, and we have a lot of resources. If you should need us or someone in your area, please feel free to reach out. Again, our contact information will be on the next screen, so don't go anywhere. Thank you guys for hanging with us. It has been amazing, and make sure you check out It Ends With Us with Blake Lively. Have a great rest of your day.